We own a 160-acre farm in Churchville, and the pipeline cuts the whole farm in half.
If the threat of losing half of his farm isn't bad enough, listen to how Louis Ravina found out nearly 5 years ago.
I walked into the library, and the librarian said, "Louis, you're at ground zero with the pipeline." And I had no idea what he was talking to. And then he showed me the maps.
Ravina and his family moved to Virginia from New York City in 1992. They were searching for a more peaceful place to live and do business.
It's heartbreaking, really heartbreaking.
Similar stories are being repeated throughout Virginia. That's according to Ben Cunningham.
Our group going up against Dominion, it's definitely a David and Goliath story.
Cunningham is the Virginia Pipeline Field Coordinator for Compliance Surveillance Imitative.
We are a primarily volunteer-led with just a few paid staff group, but so far we've been able to create tools that our state regulators and even federal regulators haven't had at their hands to use before, and we put those in the hands of everyone, including those regulators, but also the public.
He says numerous families and small businesses are being threatened by eminent domain.
Eminent domain is for building things that benefit the community and that are necessary, supposedly, like a school or a firehouse or a roadway, something that people would at least use.
Ravina is in the middle of a legal battle to save his property.
Right now, the pipeline, Atlantic Coast Pipeline, has us in court. In fact, we had answering papers submitted on December 14th, but they're trying to do a quick take where we don't even get any money initially, but they take our land. They're taking about 14 acres out of our 160 acres. And at that point, there'll be no trespassing signs on our own farm.
Cunningham says Dominion is bringing in energy from the East Coast, but it's not for public use.
No one's getting it except for the developers themselves, since they own the power plants. Total abuse of power by our governments and the corporations leading them.
Cunningham's group recently held a coordination training and workshop for people opposed to the pipeline's construction.
The purpose of this event was to show folks what we've been up to in developing this data infrastructure and monitoring program called the Pipeline Compliance Surveillance Initiative. Show how they can join us in their local area, here being Augusta County, in doing any pipeline monitoring that might need to occur should ACP go forward.
Louis Freeman was one of the presenters during the workshop. Freeman is the executive director of the Allegheny Blue Ridge Alliance.
The Allegheny Blue Ridge Alliance, or ABRA as we call it, is a coalition of organizations and individuals in West Virginia and Virginia that organized in 2014 to fight the Atlantic Coast Pipeline.
He says the Compliance Surveillance Initiative has proven to be successful in West Virginia.
We have identified, at least where construction is going on right now only in West Virginia, several incidences that we have reported to regulatory agencies, violations, and those have resulted in reprimands to the company and corrections in improper environmental practices.
Most of those violations occurred while constructing the Mountain Valley Pipeline. They were improper protections against runoff sediment.
Sediment has gotten into the streams, which pollutes the streams and presents a problem for water quality. So those have been the nature of the problems that we've witnessed so far in West Virginia.
Although the Virginia Pollution Control Board approved building a compressor station in Buckingham County, and the State Water Control Board approved permits to construct the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, opponents of the pipeline say they are not giving up their fight.
What we're doing is really creating a movement here against a boondoggle of a project that wants to be forced upon West Virginians, Virginians, and North Carolinas, and just Americans in general, since there's so much federal public land that this pipeline would like to go through. We have a big task in front of us as far as David and Goliath story goes, but we know who won that story.
In Stewart's Draft, Elaine Rackley for Breaking Through News.